எதுல கனெக்ட் பண்ணிருக்கேன்? ஜியோ வெளியில வரதான் பாரு, வெளியில காமிக்கணும். ஆமா. So could all of you hear me? For all of you, is the screen visible? I'm back, I think so. Please do respond. Please do respond. Respond. Okay. I think now it has been visible but not clear. Let me zoom it, sir. Let me zoom it. Is that okay? You want me to be zoomed a little bit? Okay. Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay, sir. Venkatachalam, sir, it's okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. A stable view was visible for 5 minutes because you were talking in the backstage. So once you're talking at the backstage, I couldn't hear the conversation. You can converse only yourself. And to unmute, right? Please do listen. To unmute, I'll just say, give you the instruction. So the address bar where we type www.airmeet.com, in that particular place, you have a lock icon. From top browser, the place where we type the address of URL of an URL, where we type the URL airmeet.com. See this particular location, you have the lock icon, right? So in that lock icon, I'll sharing the entire screen. Wait once again, so that you can be very clear what I'm trying to see instead of sharing the application. So can you see this airmeet.com, that particular location? See, you have this lock icon. You have to select that. Once you select that, you have your microphone option. There you have to make that thing to allow. You have to make microphone to allow. You clear with that? How to unmute? Please do respond. Please do respond. We'll zoom it, ma'am. We'll zoom it. Are you able to see how to unmute yourself? So all of you clear how to unmute yourself? So similarly for the camera also. So this you have to do when you are at the backstage while collaborating. So grab your seat. You can leave from one chair, one cluster to other group also. And you can find it out who is it you want to collaborate, and you can converse among yourself. Only the four of you, you will be hearing your conversation. The other members who are in the other side of the chair, even they could not hear. The conversation will be only within the group among the four members. Is that clear and okay? So I leave this before 15 minutes before closing my session at the end of the session, where you can find out your co-peers to do a project. Is that okay with all of you? All of you could hear. If you couldn't hear me, go to the sound option and enable that. Make it automatic. Everything, all thing is inside that lock. Okay, I think now we are more comfortable with the interface. We'll go back to R. We will go back to R. I think it's now okay. What to rename? I do not know what to be renamed. Satish, sir, what has to be renamed? I couldn't know what you're trying to ask. So could you make it more clear, sir? No, with that, we'll give you an instruction again at the later point, Vaini ma'am, so that you can wait till the end of the session. Again, at the end of the session, I think all of us will be here together. This is Ramya. Very nice, madam. Attended a session in army. Now this is Ramya. I couldn't get you. If you have any issue, you go to live stream, listen to the session. Listen, link is given in the mail. Link is given in the mail. And even Ramya ma'am, you please do follow the instruction what is being given over now so that we'll see how to collaborate at the later point of time. Is the screen visible? Is the screen visible? Is that okay? Please do respond. Veni ma'am. Is the voice breaking? No. Is that okay? Okay, now we'll move on to the session. So here I've asked you to create 3 vectors. Did you do 3 vectors? Have you created 3 vectors? Please do create 3 vectors. All of you have created 3 vectors? Yes. Create 3 vectors. Create a vector v1, create a vector v2, create a vector v3. Even if you have not created a vector, you need not worry about it, because in your environment screen, right? See, in your environment screen, whatever you have left back yesterday, all those things will be available. Could you see that? Could you see that? So in your environment variable, whatever we have created, whatever variables we have created, whatever history commands we have typed, everything will be available inside the environment. So every time in R, whenever we quit your R environment, your workspace also will get updated. So your workspace, it is the place where it stores your variables created, your history, that is the commands that you've run out for a longer period of time. All these things will be saved inside your workspace. So R saves not only it saves in workspace also. And provide where we have over and continue with what we are trying to do. So, 3 vectors, that it is fine. If we have not created, right? Yesterday we have created data frame. Yesterday we have created a data frame. Is breaking? Is the voice breaking? Is it now okay? Is it now okay? Is it now okay? Okay. The issue is I'm at my home and we are. And I think I'm using my own net connectivity, not in the university, as today is declared holiday for us. I do think because of that also, there may be some interruption in the connection. So if anything, you please do raise your hand. If you raise your hand, Vimala Priya is voice breaking. See you. All is the voice breaking. Yes, all of you feel that the voice to be breaking. Okay. So I think I have instability in my internet connection. I think so. V1 course name, V2 institution, P3 location, area. Is it okay now? Is the voice still breaking? Is still the voice breaking? Somebody could please respond? No issues. Thank you, sir. Now we'll move on to that. So we have already created a vector, 3 vectors we've already created. So we will create, we have created a data frame also yesterday. So if you have created 3 vectors now you create a data frame. Now please do create a data frame. Please do create a data frame. Please do create a data frame. Thank you, ma'am. If you have created a vector, now you please create a data frame. So how will you create a data frame? How will we create a data frame? So yesterday we have created data frame by using data.frame of exactly your vector names. So just run that. Just run that. So to view the data frame, the command is capital V, view the name of your data frame. To view the data frame, the command is capital V, VIEW, then your data frame name. Yesterday we have created, go to yesterday's code, go back to yesterday's code. Yesterday we have already created a data frame. We have done it yesterday, right? Now view that data frame. Could you view that data frame? Please give your answers. Could you view that data frame? Could you view that data frame? Yes. Now, what we are going to do with this, we are going to write this data frame into an Excel format, that is as in CSV file, comma separated file. We are going to write it as a comma separated file. So, to write it as a comma separated file, this is the syntax. So, we are going to write it as a comma separated file. The syntax to write it as an Excel file, the command is write.csv. This is my name. Write.csv, your data frame name, right? And your file, what file type it is, what file. Your audio is not a, audio is there. You couldn't hear me? Sir, is the audio clear? Am I audible? Yes, thank you, sir. Ma'am, Gayatri ma'am, I think the issue may be with your net connectivity. Please do check it. So please do run this command, df1 write.csv, right? And the separator, it is your comma separated file. So I'm just giving the separator as comma instead of semicolon. Just run this. Have you done with that? Vimala madam, I think it is your internet connectivity stability there. If not, you just go to the live streaming YouTube where we have already given it. From there, you can hear it. You can view it. And you can do the same thing. It is live streamed. So you've done with that. The others, have you done with that? Have you created a CSV file? Please do respond. When you run this, you will get a CSV file created. Have you done with that? Please give your response. Okay. So give your data frame name what you have created yesterday. What data frame name you have created yesterday. Okay, so all of you have some issues, right? All of you have some issues. So we'll do that right from the beginning. So please come to your command prompt. So when object not found, it means that the vector envo is not available. The vector envo is not available. Okay, we'll leave that. Now we'll create a vector. Well, let me create a vector v1 equal to c of. So I'm just going to create some courses BSc, and I'm going to create a course BCA, and I'm going to create a course MSc. So I created 3 courses. Please do create a vector course. Right. Again, I'm going to create another vector v2. I'm going to create the institution names. I created the institution names. So all of you done with that? All of you done with that? All of you done with that? Madam, voice is an issue with you, right? Issue with your system. You refresh it, ma'am. Vimala, madam, you please do refresh. Madam, could you hear me? Have you created a vector V1 and V2? All of you, please give your responses. Now we'll create a data frame. We'll create a data frame called as df1, df2 equal to data dot frame, right? So what should be your attributes, your vector names v1 and v2? Just give an enter. Have you created your data frame? So how do you create a data? Okay, no issues. If you created for 3 vectors, that is not an issue. So since many of them couldn't follow, I'm just creating it once again. Those who have already created, please stay back with what you created. That is not an issue. I made some mistake able to get the symbol. Symbol, it is in near to your M, madam. You have to give shift and do that. Right. Victoria Judge, ma'am, it is a symbol. It is your less than symbol, which is found about your alt on the keyboard after your right. So have you created a data frame? Have you created a data frame? Please do give here. Could not find function. Sir, just type df2 equal to data dot frame. Please do type this command. Type this command df2 equal to data dot frame. Once again. See, type this command df2 equal to data dot frame v1 comma v2. Have you done with this? All of you have done with this? Yes. Now we have created a data frame. Now we are going to control prompt is missing. Just press escape, ma'am. Press escape. Right? So press df2. So you have created a data frame. Now the data frame, we are going to write it as a CSV file. So to write it as a CSV file, this is the command. So how do we write it as a CSV file? This is how we are going to write it as a CSV file. So df underscore 1, already we have the name. So write.csv. Now my data frame name is df2. Your data frame name is df2. Change this alone. So change, instead of df, change it to df2 and say, I'm going to save my file name as bd2.csv. Since your file is going to be a comma separated file, your separator is assigned as your comma symbol. Now run this. So you're getting an error. Okay, that is not an issue. Is an error or warning? Okay, warning we'll ignore, no issues. Warning we'll ignore, that is not an issue. Okay, no issues. If you have warnings, no issues. Now the file is being created. So we know now what we have learned is we have learned how to convert our data and export the data, whatever we have created as an intermediate result while processing some outputs, storing it to an CSV file. So what is the purpose of this command is, whenever we try to work with any programming, we do get some intermediate results, which will be stored in a vector or which will be stored in a list or somewhere else. Now we have to collectively assemble all our intermediate result and store that result in a separate file for a better analysis for the future references. So for that case, we can store it as an CSV file, or we can store it as a text file, or we can store it as a JSON file, and so many things. There are different file formats supported by our environment. You can store it as a CSV, you can store it as a JSON, you can store it as a text, you can store it as n number of file formats. The most common preferred file format where all your data sets are available at free in various repositories is CSV file format, comma separated file format. So I am here just giving you a demo how to store it as a CSV file format. To explore more, you can find out all the alternate. So only your file type will be getting varied. Instead of write.csv, it will be write.data or write.table. So there are different things that will be there. So that has to be explored further. Is that okay? Is that okay? What is the purpose of going with the CSV file? Is that okay? Yes, please give your responses. Nancy ma'am, thank you. And by CSV file it is, see, when open data initiative was been initiated by the governments, which was a policy which was initiated by countries joined together in US in order to share the data from so many places which has been stored in databases. They have come out with an they have come out with an open source standard to share the file as CSV file format. So Open Data Initiative Policy has recommended the repositories or whoever willing to share the data publicly to share the data in the standards either as a CSV file or as a JSON file or as an XML file. This is a global standard. This is a global standard. This is a global standard. That is why even in you go to data.gov.in, the crowdsourcing platform of India, you can download all your public data sets only in any of these three formats, either as a CSV format or as a JSON format or as an XML format. Or as an XML format. You were clear with that? Why CSV it is? It is a global standard which has been recommended by so many people around the globe to share the file for others to use. It is a very easy file format which can be taken into consideration. So that only all the data sets are available as CSV file format or JSON or XML, not in any other format. So now we know how to write our intermediate results as a CSV file. So to write it, the command is write.csv, the name of the data frame and the file name. So when here I am not giving the location, in your laptop you can specify your path, C colon or D colon or whatever it is, and what is your separator. So now we have written the CSV file. Now we have written the CSV file. Now when I want to view this, read the CSV file, read a file which has been already been available. So when we download a data set from a repository, now when you want to read that file, your command is read.csv, the CSV file name, right? And header equal to true and separator equal to this. Please run this. I'll say you what is header. Please run this. Please execute that. Sure, sir. So read.csv. How do we read it as read.csv, your file name, header equal to true. Warning, you can leave it, sir. It is nothing, it's not an error, right? Since we have given a CSV file and I've given a separator, it is giving an error. It is not an error, it is a warning. You can leave that. Leave that. CSV itself, it automatically makes it separated as comma. Since again we are trying to give the separator as comma, it is throwing a warning. That's it. So to read a CSV file, all of you have done with that? So all of you done that? All of you have done with that? Yes. So now What is header is, see, whenever we try to download any Excel file, what happens is the first line of the Excel sheet, will be the headings, column headings. The first line of the headings, it will be column headings. It is not BD4, madam, it is BD2. So we'll be getting the first headings. So when you assign header equal to true, the first heading, the first line of your row will be treated as heading. If you make your header equal to false, the first row of your sheet will be considered as data. You clear with that? What is header equal to true and what is header equal to false? Header, it is your heading, column headers. Names, what we assign it for a data frame. You clear with that? So now we'll read a CSV file. So once we have read the CSV file, the file is being available in DF2. It is stored in an object called as DF2. Again, all files will be stored only as a data frame. You are clear with that? Please, would you give your responses? You've done your reading and writing of your file? You've done with that? Yes. So now to view your file, your command is this, view. V should be capital letter, R is case sensitive. So view of your data file name, view DF2, it is your data file name. So view is a command which views your file. It shows your inputs, whatever we have created. So view is to view your file. Make a note of it. Right? And I'll show you in another form of read CSV. See, normally when we have n number of file formats n number of CSV files available, normally it will be convenient for us to choose the file getting into that specific location rather than directly typing the file name, because due to the typographic errors that will happen when we type the path or when we type the file name. Is that okay? Will happen or not? Will it happen or not? When we try to type a file name with path, we'll end up with errors. Yes. So what normally we prefer is, we'll try to go and choose a file, select a file. That is how we are more comfortable with it. So to do that, in read CSV, you have a command. So read.csv. When you give file.choose, you have a file window opened, right, where you can go and choose the file. So please run this command. So all of you getting a window like this, please do respond. Kindly, please do give your responses. Yes, thank you. So now I can go and choose a file. Just make it, it has been minimized, right? I'll say b.csv. So I have chosen my file now. Have you opted your file? Done. Now when you view this command, so whatever file you have selected, that will be visible. This is again another option where you can use choose file.choose option. You're clear with that? Yes. Now we know how to import and export the data set from the R environment and again from the outside environment. So writing and reading files. Again, I say you, there are n number of file formats, but the most common recommended file format, what we use it as as a JSON file or a CSV file or as an XML file And the next three commands, write table and read table, I want you to try it from yourself. Not now, you can try it a later period of time, right? try it as a later period of time. How do you create a file? How do you write it as a table or read it as a table? You can explore that. How to write as a text file? You can explore that. That is part of your what to say, you can take it as a homework or assessment where further you can learn. I'm not going to explain those things because the procedure and the content are same. Is that okay? Is that okay? You can please go to your App Studio, check with that and find it out what has been happening. Okay. Now, we'll move on to your second day session. We'll move on to the second day session. Now, all of you clear your consoles, Control L. Clear your console, giving Control L. Clear your consoles, giving Control L. Now we are moving to the second day session. We'll moving to the second day session. So for today's session, we are going to discuss about our visualization. So while discussing the theoretical part of data analytics, the data analytics is being classified into 4 different classifications. The first one being your descriptive analytics. The second one is your diagnostic analytics. The third one, the predictive analytics. The fourth one is the prescriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, we call it as exploratory data analytics altogether. And we have inferential analytics again, which is added as part of your diagnostic analytics. So for the entire session of R, we are going to discuss about descriptive analytics or your EDA, exploratory data analytics, or while discussing your big data use case, where it has been used, the first it is data exploration. So descriptive analytics is one where it has been done to understand what happened in the data so far. What has happened in the data so far. This is very, very, very important. And diagnostic analytics help us to understand why it has happened. Only when knowing what has happened and why it has happened or which triggered it to happen, you can go for your machine learning models. 80% of your modeling results will be better only based on your EDA, that is your descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, where much of human intervention is important because it is domain specific. Most of the time, industries spend much of their time for understanding what is the relationship and association happened in the data, concentrating more on descriptive part and your diagnostic part. Now industries are moving towards having automated AI to replace the domain expertise used by humans and understand the knowledge embedded in the data set using artificial intelligence techniques. Slowly, people are now moving towards AI, called as automated artificial intelligence, to explore the relationship that has been available in the large volumes of data. But as of still now, descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, it has been taking place with help of the human expertise. So we are going to do descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics for our session today. So this is called as an EDA. It is also called as EDA. And again, to do in descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics, visualization is a very core important component. Because when you have a very large volume of data, understanding the data points by walking through data for a very smaller portion of data, it is quite easy. But when you have a very large volume of data, say even 1,000 records, it becomes larger for a human brain. So when we have large volume of data, in that case, we can understand what is it only through visualization. That is why data visualization is again a very important thing in your data analytics part. Right? So now we are going to do it. So when it is say it is visualization, R supports visualization with 4 important packages. The first visualization is with your basic package, which is built in R, which is called as Trellis. The second one, it is using your Lattice package. The third one, it is your ggplot package. And fourth one, now we have Plotly. Plotly is again a third party interface which can be connected or used in R. When you go for Python, it is Matplotlib, and Plotly is supported both in R and Python. So visualization is core important thing. So for the session, what we are going to use it, I'm going to give you an exploration with your lattice package and your trellis package, and ggplot is almost the same, where you have different kind of beautification that can be made your visualization more interactive. So I'm not going to take part, but I'll say you how these three packages differ in each of their way. All of you clear with that? Why? What is the importance of this specific topic today? Please kindly give your responses before we get into the session. ggplot2, plotly. Is that okay? No, trellis package, which is built in, which is already available, which is already inside the R environment, Okay, now shall we move on to the thing? So whenever we say that we are working with visualization, now we need a data set. Do we need a data set or not? Just give your responses, please. Is data set is important? Yes. Where will we get the data set? Could you name some repositories where you can get the data sets? Can you name some repositories where we can get some data sets? Exactly, data.gov.in, Kaggle, UCI. Then Amazon also gives some data sets, review data sets available. And there are n number of data sources and data sets that are being available. Now, see, every time I could not go back and do an R itself, it has hundreds of data sets available within inside. Yes, geo data set, Omnic data sets for microarray. You have lot of other data sets related to gene sequences, lot of microarray data sets are also there. From your repositories such as NCBI and EMBL also, ma'am, you can also use that. And now R has rich number of data set. So now again I say you that we are going to use as a package. We'll understand what is a package. Now package is set of predefined libraries written by somebody and it is available ready to use. So we are going to use R as a tool. I'm not going to write any code. We are just using it as a tool, using the existing functionalities to understand our own information, whatever we want to do it. So R has rich number of packages. So first we'll understand how to do installation of a package, then how to call the package, then see what are the packages available in R related to dataset, and we'll work on with the dataset. This is how the next few minutes it's going to be done. Is that okay? So package is collection of predefined libraries. So how do I install a package? So to install a package, you have to go to tools menu. Right? You have to select install packages. You have to go to tools menu. You have to select install packages. You have to get install packages and you have to select your package name. So let me say that LATTICE. Lattice is a visualization package we are going to use, so that I'm going to say that as Lattice. So you have to go to tools, right? Select install packages, then type your package name of your package, only you have to find it, right? So name of the package, only you have to be very clear. So you have to surf and find it. What is the package you're looking in for? What are the functionalities that are being required? That part only you have to find it out. So that is again our own domain knowledge. So since we are going to use a visualization package, the package name is Lattice. I'm mentioning it as Lattice package. So once you're given your package name, you have to click install dependencies. This has to be get selected. By default, it will be selected. And the reason why it is selected is, see, a package may refer some other packages by default itself. So a function which has been written, they do have referred the functionalities and other packages. So all related packages that is required to carry out a function has to be installed. So install dependencies enable all the required packages or attached packages related with this lattice package or related with any other package. So this is where you have to make your install dependencies enabled. You're clear with that? You're clear with that? So kindly give your response. Please give your response. Could you hear me? Yes. Now you please do click install. Once you click install, your packages will get installed. So for in your laptop, it will be taking some time and it will be running out and your packages will get installed. So I do have a blinking over there, right? So you have a red thing glowing with a stop. So it means that your package is getting installed. Your package is getting installed, right? So your package by default, it is installed. So it is getting installed. Let it go along with it, right? So let it come out. Downloading, and now my package is been installed. So we have to install your package. So the second question is, should I install the package every time? No. Once you install your package will be available with your machine. And only you have to call your packages. Until or otherwise, if you are reinstalling your R package or if you're reinstalling your operating system, only then you have to install your packages back. If you're not doing any reinstallation process, your packages will remain with you itself. You're clear with that? So once you install your package will be available forever. So every time when you get into your R environment, you have to call back your package. You have to call back your package. Okay? So how do we call back the packages? We can call back the package using your library function. There is a function to call your package back. Your command is library, library, right? And name of your package. What is my name of my package? LATTICE is my package, which has to be embedded within double quotes. So to call back your package, you should give your call your package. Your command is what? Library. You clear with that? Right. And once again, I say you see, sometimes we can install packages by downloading the zip files also. Even that is recommended. But when we try to download the zip files, all the dependencies also has to be ensured we are installing. So always better recommended to install your packages with online using your install packages command. You clear with that? So now we are clear with how to install a package. Any package, this is your installation procedure. And how do I call my package? Is using my library command. All of you clear with that? Yes. Now, we know how to install your package and how to do it. Now, what shall we do with this? Now, I want to work with data sets. I know. So, before we start working, we should know what packages to be used. The packages are being ready with that. What should I know? All these prerequisites, it should be known to the user before starting something or before trying to do something with your R. So, we will do with that. So, now R has a package called as mass. R has a package called as mass, which is capital letters MASS. Now, this package is already available, installed in R. Now, call this package. How will you call this package? How will you call this package? Please give your command. Let me see who is going to give the first input. How will you call a package? My package name is mass. Yes. How will you call your package? Library of mass. See, mass is capital letter. It is case sensitive. It is case sensitive. It is case sensitive. When it is capital letter, you have to give capital letter. If it is small letters, you have to use lower case. If not, you will be getting your errors. See, when I say mass, automatically my R will fetch me that. I need not remember anything. When I say mass, automatically it fetches. You're okay with that? Now we have called the mass package. What is the speciality about this mass packages? This mass package has built-in data sets available. There are 100 plus data sets available already built in this mass package. We will explore that. Shall we? Now we have got into the mass package. To know all the data available inside a package, your command is DATA of lowercase. DATA. Data. Just give DATA. What you're getting? DATA, this command will list you all the data sets available inside a package. DATA will let you all the data set available inside a package. You're able to get the screen? Give your responses, please. See, got with these packages? Yes. Now, I want to view a package. Now, all of you view the data set BOD. View the data set BOD. How will you do that? How will you do that? View the data set BOD. How will you do that? Give your inputs. Exactly. View BOD. Exactly. B should be capital letters. B should be capital letters. We have to remember those steps. Because a function is written by some user who have made it to the first letter to be a camel case. A camel case is a good style for functioning, right? That is your basic best practice to write your function to use camel case. So, have you viewed the data set? Now, view in another data set called as DNAS. View your data set called as DNAS. See, the data set name is again case sensitive. The data set name is again case sensitive. Right. So, I think now all of you are clear with how to call a package, how to see the data set, and how to view the data set. I think all of you are clear. Now, as a data analytics part, now we are going to work on with the data set. Everything is the same, the exact or environment, whatever you work in the cloud, it is same and similar to what you work in laptop. There is no difference. The entire screen is there. That's it. Now I'm working online virtually. There I do have my own laptop installations. That's it. That doesn't make any difference. All cloud environments, it sounds to be similar. Now we are going to work with a data set called as Queen, DATAQUINE. We are going to work on a data called as Queen. So I'm going to view that data. So view the data QUINE. Please all of you view the data QUINE. This is the data we are going to work. This is the data we are going to work. All of you got with that data set? All of you got with that data set? Yes. See now again, let me say you something. It may be sound to be something I'm speaking about theory, but that this understanding is very essential before you go in for data analytics part. So when we start with the data analytics part, so in your data science process, the first one is understanding business. The second one is understanding data. The first one is understanding business. Second one is understanding data. Only when you are doing with that, you can do any part of your analytics into it. So whenever we try to get a data set, we have to know what is that data set speaking about. What does it contain? what is our own assumption? That is, taking about the domain knowledge about the data set is very crucial to walk through the data set to get a clear picture of understanding what happened, because we are trying to do in descriptive analytics. So now we are going to work with a data set called as Queen. Now I have to understand what is this data set speaks about. So every data set that we download, it has a README file. So README file, it gives a very clear description about what the data set speaks, how it is getting associated, what does it contain, and all those information. So now we are going to work with the data set Queen. And when you go to the help, your bottom right, when you go to the help part of your bottom right, you search for the data set Queen, Quine. Just give an enter. You getting this? Then explore and read what this data set speaks about. Just go through this for 2 minutes. Just go through this for 2 minutes. I'm just leaving you the screen now. I want you to go to help, type your data set name, right? And explore, read about the data set. What does it contain for 2 minutes? Could you do that now? Please give your responses. Could you do that now? All of you have got that screen? All of you are with that? Please explore it. Please explore it. What do you understand? We are trying to understand the data. We are trying to understand that data. Yes, done with that. Yes, what listed on the data frame is explained. Exactly, ma'am. So now, this is a data set which is related to absenteeism of children in a school. Absenteeism of children in a school. This is a data set which speaks about the absenteeism of children in a school. How many days the children are absent in a school. This is what this data set speak about. And this is school in a rural New South Wales. This is a school from a rural New South Wales. And this particular data set, it has 146 rows and it has 5 columns. So now we are clear that this is a data set with respect to absenteeism of children in a school, and it contains ethnic background, right? An ethnicity about a particular specific location, and it has a gender factor, which is a female or male, and age group. The children are classified into age group, right? Primary, secondary, and all those things as F1, F2, and F3. And I have the learning rate of the children, whether the children are classified as average learner or slow learner. And I have a numerical attribute, the days, the number of days absent. Now, with this as an information, since we are going to analyze the data, now the school has given us the data set to us, assuming that find out the reason why the children are absent for the school when the question is being posted on it and the question is being thrown to us. So how should we start exploring? Please give your responses. Now the school has given me this. It has given me this data set, and now they want me to find out and say me what happened, why the children are absent, right? So what will we do it? Where should we start? Again, we put the question in another way. Where should we start? Could you give you, so we should have the assumptions about the data set. That is very, very crucial and important. So what will be your assumptions to start with it? Please kindly give your responses. Please kindly give your responses. Days absent. Yes, please. Sir Venkatachalam sir has given us days absent. Number of children absent by Victoria ma'am. Anything else is Kumarappan sir has given us learner status. And Ovia ma'am has asked me to repeat. So now the school is being calling you and giving a data set, and they ask you to find out why the children are absent. What is with? They give you the data set and ask you to do with data analytics. So where will you start and how will you start is the question. So we have to start at a particular point of time. Now we should know what we have to do. We have to find the relationship between attributes. We have to find out with so many things. And yes, we have to do a lot exploring. So how do we start with doing technically? That it is a question. Walking through all the data points, that it is very, very important. So we will do that. So whenever we have got about a data set, exactly sir, Muthupandian sir is right, we have to summarize the data. That is exactly right. So whenever we have a data, first we have to understand what does that data set speak. What does that each attribute try to convey to us, because we are going to understand what happened so far. What happened so far is very important to predict what will happen in the future. Whether the children will come to school or the children will not come to school. Try a graphical representation, dependency of each data. Yes, exactly. All those things sounds good. So technically, in order to understand that, we should have all these things. Now we have to find out the first thing to perform a data analytics part. Understanding of the data has been done. So we have understood the data. This data set has some information with number of days absent, and they have given some information about gender, about the learning rate, and about something, right? Now I ask you to frame your assumptions. Frame your assumptions with respect to the domain. Frame your assumptions with respect to the domain knowledge. That is very, very important and crucial, where this is where the analytic perspective should be different rather than not looking in the face value of the data. Let me say, what is it, right? So first thing what you have to do it is, see, when the data set has been given to me, before going and grabbing or putting the chart or doing the relationship, when first of all a data set is being given, I will have our assumption number of days absent. Who will be more absent in a school? What is your assumption we have? Who will be more absent for a school? Please give your responses. Who will be more absent about a school? For a school? I have an attribute called a gender. I have an attribute called a slow learner, advanced learner. I have an attribute with different categories. F1, F2, F3 is age group categories, right? Slow learner will be more absent to the class. This is an assumption all of us we do have. Then what will be happening? Slow learner. Then primary students may be absent. This is again an information. So normally children's may absent due to health issue or something. Primary children. Then I do have a gender attribute also. I do have a gender attribute also. Which gender will be more absent? It's an assumption. So women children are found to be absent, or male are found to be absent, female are found to be absent, male students, slow learner. Yes, madam has started associating us. Now see, once I get the data set, we should frame our own assumption. So how do I start? Just make a graph to speak. Graph will plot me something, but what I would like to look in, only that is going to help me to give a decision to the school saying that, see, this is the reason why these people are absent, this particular category, or this is what, find out why it is. right? So that has to be made very clear in that. So that the first part, what you have to do is you have to understand the data. Second process, you have to understand the structure of the data. So to know the structure of the data, your command is str of queen. Str is the command used to understand the structure of the data. So when you give str of data, this gives you the number of observation, what are the variables, and it gives you the type of data it is. So when you see the type of data, you can see that 4 factor variables and 1 integer variable. You could see that 4 factor variable and 1 integer variable. And factor variable, it gives me what the distinct values in the data set. So for ethnic group, there are only 2 groups, A and N. And the gender, again, I have only 2 groups, F and M, which is coded as 1 and 2. And age, I have 4 levels, F0, F1, F2, and F3. And learner rate, you have 2 levels, AL and SL. So now again, it has so many sub-levels that can be classified and analyzed. So I have 4 variables and you have only one numeric variable. Only one numeric variable is available for this particular data set. So understanding this, we have to again reframe our assumption. The second step, understanding the domain, understanding the structure. How do I plot my visualization? Then third step is understanding the summary as being said by things. Muthupandian sir of Sikkim University has given that input, summarization. So we do the summary of the data. So to have the summary of the data, we'll just run this. This is a function to run the summary of data. SUMMARI data set name. Have you done that? You've run that? Could you kindly give your responses? We'll move a little bit fast. Actually, we are too slow. I would like to complete the histogram part as of today so that will be nice for us to work also. Yes. Now, see, from the summary, what would you understand? Could you type your responses? What do you understand from the summary? Please say your responses. What do you understand? Female 80 proportion. Then attributes, percentage, descriptive statistics, exactly. Yes. See, now the summary gives me again an important assumption that many of us, we have an assumption that males will be more absent and some of us, we had the assumption that females will be absent. Right? So now the difference, I do have more females in the data set compared to males, and the learning rate, we said that slow learners will be more absent, but I have a meager difference between the advanced learner and slow learner. Advanced learners are a little bit more than the slow learners of the data set. Now, again, when we say that primary children will be more absent, so if we keep F0 as primary, again, I have more number of absentees and the data has been classified into F2, F3 type equally divided. So there doesn't much difference between primary and the higher secondary or your mid-school level. So again, this is again an insight. And when you come to number of days, the minimum number of days a student taken leave is 0. Maximum number of days a student taken leave is 81. And the average number of days is 16. And the median, it is 11. And the first quartile, that is your 25th percentile is 5%, 5. And your 75th percentile is 22.75. Now, with this as your input, where will you start? Could you give your responses? Could you give your responses? Could you give your responses? Voice not audible? Am I audible? Is that okay, Ravi sir? Okay. So what will you start it? See, a student is absent for 81 days. Student is absent for how many days? 16 days as an average. Mean is an average. Mean is an average value. 146 students, number of days absent is recorded. As a whole out of 146, average 16 days students have taken leave. As a whole average, 16 days is the average days leave taken by the students among the population 146. Third quartile, it is the 75th percentile. So whenever we divide your data set, we divide your data set into 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, and 100 percentile. And we'll be more concentrating on the IQ or interquartile range, leaving our your minimum and your maximum, and we'll be doing that. We'll do that with the box plots, sir. 81 may be the outlier. Exactly. 81 may be the outlier. This is a nice assumption. 81 may be the outlier. Again, we have to verify. If 81 is not an outlier, then we have to is just count and summary of the variable. With this, we can't say females are taking more absent. Yes. Now, how do we explore and say who will be taking absent? Who is absent is the question. It is just count and summary of the variable, and this is where it's been given by government to everybody. Now with this, how do we come to an assumption that who has taken leave and find out why they have taken leave by associating all these variables, which is very, very, very important. So this is where we use a data analytics perspective, sir. Now we'll go in for your number of days. With this as an assumption, with this as a knowledge, we'll go and explore what we find out, right? So we know that, so 81 is an outlier. It may be a typographic error. That is the assumption of Jayanti madam. So sometimes 81 may be a real cause also. So 81 days a student has taken leave. So what is the maximum number of days and what is the minimum number of days? Why a student has taken 81 days leave? And again, the question is, how many students have taken leave below the mean average? How many students have taken leave above the mean average? How many students taken leave below the mean average fall into the category of primary, mid-level, higher secondary? And among that category, how many of them belong to slow learner or advanced learner? Should we have a 360-degree walkthrough to find out the insights? Could you give your answers? Could you give me the answers? This is the only data that has been given, number of days absent. Now with this as an input, you have to walk through the data and say to the management or to the government or the authorities why a student is absent for a longer period of time. Now how do we work out is taking the number of days, taking the mean average, taking the mid average or 25th percentile. Can we come out and walk through the data and say, from the mean average, number of students absent above the mean average, male is this much, female is this much. Among the male students, primary section, these many students have taken leave. Secondary section, these many students have leave. Among all those things, advanced learners were in this category and say slow learners have taken very less leave. Can we walk through all the data points and come out with a clear picture to understand what has happened? Could you give your responses? Is that possible or not? Am I audible? Am I audible? Yes. Now this is where we have to go and start with an assumption and we have to work out on. Now getting the summary measures, how do we understand that is through visualization. So now we'll go in for visualization. So to go into the visualization, the basic command that has been available, this is a trellis command that has been available. The basic built-in package available in R is what we are going to work. And again, I'm going to say you how to work with your lattice package also. So hist is the command. Hist is the command. Hist is the command used to play. So three important visualization we are going to look in. One is your histogram analysis. Second one is your box plot analysis. Third one is your scatter plot analysis for numerical variables. And for categorical variables, we are going to do with a bar chart. We are going to do with a mosaic plot. And you have, other than that, you have a stem plot and you have a pie chart. So which chart has to be used for what? Again, we have to understand. So for assessment of numerical analysis, these are very important charts. Histogram analysis, box plot analysis, and scatter plot analysis. Histogram is an univariate plot. It is used to explore only one single numerical variable. With histogram, we can explore only numerical variable, and it's a univariate plot. And histogram, it revolves around the metric mean. It revolves around the metric mean and standard deviation. So more emphasis will be given towards your mean point. It will be given to the mean point. And box plot is again another important plot which is being based on the IQR range, your interquartile range. And we'll be working on that. Again, that has an important understanding to understand how your data is being distributed. Again, that is very important. Box plot, it can be plotted both for categorical and numerical because it is going based on a median count. Now we'll do with the histogram. So to draw a histogram in R with the existing package, your command is this. So just select this hist. Hist is your name of your chart. QUINE is your name of your data set. Dollar is your syntax. Whatever you give after dollar is your attribute name. Attribute, it is the variable that is available in the data set. So in the data set queen, we have the attributes. In the data set queen, we have the attributes LRN, number of days, then gender, and all those things. So we are going to use, you should be knowing the attribute names. So days is one attribute name and break it is 50 to plot the number of bars in the histogram. Just run this. So when you run it, you will be getting inside your this portion, your this particular part, your histogram, you will be getting it. You're able to see your histogram? Yes. Now this is a histogram that gives me it. Now what this breaks is, now I want you to go to the code and reduce your breaks to 5. Go and reduce your break to 5. Make your break as 5 and visualize it and see what you're trying to get. Are you getting something like this? Are you getting something like this? Yes. So, which gives you more insight? This graph or the graph which we got earlier? Which gave us more insight? This one or the other one? Which one we got? This one got with break size 5 or break size 50? Other one. Because whenever we try to plot a histogram, we should have more number of bars. We should have more number of bars embedded so that you will get the frequency count. So this is your number of days, X attribute, and your Y attribute is count of occurrences. How many days students, 20 days, how many students are absent? 40 days, how many students are absent? 80 days, how many students are absent? This is what has to be inferred from a histogram. And whenever we say histogram, a histogram should have a bell-shaped curve. We'll talk about a bell-shaped curve. So when we have a bell-shaped structure, we call it to be a normal distribution. We call it to be a normal distribution. And whenever we talk about normal distribution, certain machine learning models will be work only for data which are normally distributed. When your data is not normally distributed, certain machine learning models will not work. Again, there are differences to choose which model. It depends upon the type of your data and how your data it is being put in. So breaks, it is to specify your number of bars. It is similar to your scaling part, what we do in a graph. It is similar to your scaling part, what we do in a graph. So how do we partition, set your scale? That we call it as break. So always your break size should be more. So only when you have your break size as 50, when you have your break size as 50, you can zoom in. You can see that break size. Now this gives me more. So the more number of students are absent, more number of students are absent, or all these students who are absent or more, which is less than 20. Few students are absent, have taken leave beyond 20, and more students have taken leave below 20 days. And for say a specific day, 6 or 7, more number of students have taken leave. 25 times, 25% or 25 times students have taken leave for a day, for 10 days. For 10 days, 25 times. The frequency, how many times it has occurred. So this gives us more picture. And when you say 80, 80 is lying somewhere outside. So it gives us a clue that this is a typographic error. We need not worry, which has been already said by, I think, Vimla madam or Victoria ma'am. Somebody has mentioned this to be outlier. So 80 is an outlier. So 80 is not the maximum number of days. It gives us some breathing that children have not taken 80 days leave. Now, with this as an insight, we have drawn a histogram. Now, histogram is always with respect to mean, because when you say that you will have a normal distribution, you will have a bell-shaped curve, your mean and median will be at the same point, So, we can plot your mean value also above your histogram. So, to plot your mean value, we will be using this command, AB line, B, it is your vertical line. When you specify H is going to be a horizontal line. Mean of that particular variable, and COL, it stands for red color. LWD is your line width. So I'm going to draw this. So when you draw it, you can find that your mean average days is what? 16. So more students have taken leave, right, below the average, not above the average. Is that okay? Now we are somewhat okay, right? Average number of days taken by leave is 16, and all the students who have taken more number of students, right? Maximum number of days leave taken by the students, it falls below the mean average. Is that okay? Could you give your responses? Right? So this is what is an insight. Now I have my mean. And this histogram is right skewed. When your tile is long, your right hand tile is long, it is right skewed. When your left hand tile is long, then it is left skewed. When your left hand tile is long, then it is left skewed. Right? So this it is right skewed. Right skewed it is. So any data, we'll plot the median point also. So that we'll get an. Now, to plot the median, the command is V is median of. So, I'm just giving a different color. Now, when you zoom it, you can see that this graph. So, red line is your median, your blue line is your mean part. So, when your mean is when your mean is less than your median, when your mean point is less than your median, what is your median value? What is your median value? What is your median value we had? What is the median we have? Median is 11. And what is your mean value we have? 16. Right? So when mean is greater than your median, it will be left skewed. When your mean is less than your median, when your mean is greater than your median, it will be right skewed. When your mean is less than your median, it will be left skewed. Right? So now this is with respect to statistical inferences. Now the number of days leave taken by the students, right, it falls. More number of days is leave is taken by the students, which is less than the mean average and which is also less than the median point. Again, this is somewhat interesting. Now you have to explore, again have to have an eye on that to extract only this portion of the data and find out. I'll say that, sir, it is outline. So we have to give more importance of cutting only this point of data which falls between the average mean and average median. Again, to go walk through and find out which student have taken more leave, whether it is gender male or female, or slow learner or advanced learner, or a category of age, primary, secondary, or something. Is the other part is not interesting, even the other part is interesting. So now again we have to come to a conclusion that we have to subset our data and go in for a walkthrough. We could not make the entire data and walkthrough. Every time when we come to an assumption, we have to go in for a subsetting. We have to split your data and try to find out what has been happening. Is that okay or not, ma'am? Could you please give your responses, dear participants? So this is what is it. Now we have got two insights. One, 81 is an outlier. Now one thing it is, more number of leaves taken is not above my mean average or my median average. It is below my mean and median. So it is something, okay, as an average 16 days. That is not something bad. Now we have to find out among those students who have taken leave, which category they belong to. Is they are female? If they are female, I have an ethnic category. Which category of students are female? They do take leave. And why do they take leave? Do they take leave due to health related issues, or do they take leave because of their nativity, religious or something assumptions, or they are not allowed? Is a slow learner or an advanced learner? And if it is a slow learner, which category he belongs to, and why he is taking more. If it's an advanced learner, whether it's a male or a female, why? So all these, it gives lot of insights. So this is again, it helps us to make a pitch on every point of data and walk through. You clear with that? Now, so again, when we do it, this Muthupandian sir is asked, so you have to use this line, sir, AB line. AB line, B equal to mean of, it gives you the line. This command will help you to plot your mean value and median value on your histogram. Right? And now when you want my legend to say that what does this red line states, what does this green line, blue line states, so you can give you a legend, right? Which where you want to make at the top right. So why do we give C? Why do we give C here? Why do we give C? Please give your responses. Why do we give C? See, kindly give your response. Yes, to combine the function. Exactly. Since I want to plot two values, mean and median, and I say the color red is for mean and the color blue is for median, we use a C function. So when you want to combine more than two attributes, you have to use C. If not, you will be getting an error. So now we'll drop the legend. This is the beautification part. So you're now clear with this? Is this graph beautiful? Is something easy than an Excel sheet? Yes. So now it gives me a clear picture about what to be done. So this is a very basic histogram. So we have learned the beautification part also, how to give the color. COL is used to mention the color. LWD, it mentions your line width, right? And X, your top right, bottom right is your place to position your thing. We also know that. And how to plot your mean, median, and you can give your main also. Title also you can give by using your keyword main. Just when you say main equal to, say histogram, I think it has been already been given. It's already been given. So main is an attribute to give your title of your chart. So main is your title of your chart. Somewhere I would be given, right? So main is your title of your chart. So you're clear with this? Yes. Now, please execute the other hist command, which is given below. please do execute the other history command that has been given below. You've done with that? You've done with that? You've done with that? All of you getting this? So getting that, please do explore. So what do you see from this? What do you see from this? I'm not getting color. Why? Why, ma'am? You are not getting the color. It will be coming out, right? See, when you look at this graph, you can see the distribution. Your density curve, which says you what type of distribution. So it's a right skewed. It's a normal distribution. Again, it is normal. Where it tends to be normal, it's a normal distribution, but it's not exactly normal in nature. So see, whenever we try to infer histogram, we have to infer histogram in terms of statistics with respect to your type of distribution, your type of skewness, with respect to your cortices also, your height of your density of your curve. So all these things are very important. And again, inferring your values with respect to what to say, inferring your values with respect to domain knowledge is also very important to be found out. Again, that it is very necessary to be done. So it's not just making a plot and making a histogram and just getting out it. So data analytics is not only making charts or something. Data analytics is something to understand what to say, how do we walk through with the data, that it is very, very important. So you were clear with that? And now I've said you that I want to subset the data set. When I want to subset the data set, how do I subset the data set? Take the data set for female alone. Take the data set for male alone. When you want to do that, then you can use a command called a subset. When you want to subset only the data for female alone, I want to have only the data set who are female, which gives me the number of days absent by female. You can use this command, subset. Yes, the codes will be shared, right? Already the code is with you. You can save in your own cloud, madam. So it is with you already. We have given you, right? You can share it and you can have the code with you itself. That is not an issue, I think so. You're clear with that? Now, when you run this, subset is a command. Subset is a command, argument mixing. I'm getting an error. It's an error. This is an error. Yes, now I don't get an error, I think so. Okay, let me see to it. What is it, right? We'll come out with the subset. It will be working. Okay, it is a function from a dplyr package, right? That it is not let me clear out that, right? Yes. No, the second histogram, it makes you to plot the density curve also. Density, when you say lines of density, this gives you the understand the type of distribution, whether it is a normal distribution or it's a right skew distribution or it is a left skew distribution. So we are just plotting the density curve. So whenever we plot a histogram, we have to understand what distribution it is. So normally we tend to work with all machine learning models or working for normal distribution with non-linear data. All the data, whatever we have, we try to convert it to a normal distribution and we try to apply a machine learning algorithms. When your model, when your data doesn't fit into normal distribution, then we go in for your other models. All the existing models or all the existing classifiers that has been designed to fit into a normal distribution, assuming that data will be fitting into the normal distribution. So we have to see to that our data is normally distributed. When it is normally distributed, it means that it can be have a bell-shaped curve. It goes with mean and median or a similar bell-shaped curve mechanism. So statistics is very important before we try to derive a model. So this understanding the distribution is also very, very important. There are so many other nonlinear probabilistic models. Monte Carlo simulation is a nonlinear model which is being used. Markova chain is a nonlinear model that is being used. Non-probabilistic models, normally we call all those things. There are n number of models, madam. Normally for all text analytics and text mining processes, we deny or we rely on this non-probabilistic models, not on this probabilistic models what we are working with, whatever it is. Right? So we'll be doing with that. Subset, I'll say you what is it. We'll leave that for a while. Probability is true, if P is equal to true, right? It gives you a relative frequency. The vertical axis has a relative frequency. So that it means what it is, probability equal to true. It is a default, right? And XSLIM, it is nothing but it is an axis, right? If it is false, when your probability is false, it means that it plot the count of number of bins, how many bins it is there. That is it what. And probability is true, it is a relative frequency. Relative frequency, it is the total number of value of bins divided by the total data. That is your relative frequency. When it is normally false means actual count. That is the difference between a relative frequency and a normal counter frequency. So we are clear with this, right? Or are we okay with that? Now we'll move on to the next thing, another histogram with lattice package, right? This is very interesting to you. Now, see, when I try to analyze my numerical data with histogram, now I am clear that it is somewhat nearer to normal distribution. Yes, without subset, I think it will be working. Let me check it out. I thought I will come back to that, right, after completing this one. Thank you, Kartika ma'am, for the inputs. So what it is it? So normally we draw a histogram. It's a univariate plot. We have understood the distribution is similar to, tend to be normal, but it's a right skew distribution. It can be converted to a normal distribution. And all these inputs are okay. Now, when we try to understand the data, we are very clear that most of the students who are absent, the higher number of days leave taken by the students, they fall below the mean average and the median average. And many of the students who have taken leave more, they are, even though they are more, but they've taken more number of days leave, but the students taken number of days leave is less compared to the other side. So we have come to an assumption that we have to subset our data. This has to be walked in. Second one it is, now this alone will not give me any insight. Now we have to understand the data with respect to all our factor variables which are available to us. So we have to find out the student absent with respect to male category, female category, learning rates, and your age category. That gives us more insights. So to do that, your basic histogram will not work out. So your basic histogram will not work out. So we go in for your lattice package. We go in for your lattice package. So in the lattice package, we have a command called as histogram, which help us to plot the factor variables. You're okay with that? You're okay with that? What I'm trying to say, the difference between the existing hist command and the lattice package histogram? Kindly give your responses, please. Kindly give your responses, please. You're okay with that? A normal hist command, you could only plot your numerical data. Now, as I have so many factor variables, I do have to compare with all other factor variables in the data to get the insight of the data. That is very, very crucial and important. To do that, my normal trellis package command will not work. So we go in for a lattice package visualization, your histogram command. And whenever we have already installed your lattice package. So to call your package, your command is what? Library command. So once you call the package, now your lattice package is brought into your catch part, right? Now the command of your histogram command is this. So histogram, I'll make it as, see, this has been written in to be very, very larger. Let me make it as histogram. Instead of hist, it is histogram. Data set. No, we'll go with this. Sorry, you leave the second one. We'll just view this one. Sorry, I think again there is an correction there. Okay, histogram, right? Tilde symbol. It is above your escape, below your escape. Tilde symbol. Your numerical attribute name, right? Pipe symbol. Whatever you get after your pipe symbol, it should be a factor variable name. You need not mention it as factor of LRN. By default, it will be taken. Or if you want to convert any variable to factor variable, you can give with the function factor of LRN. Right? So your histogram command is this tilde symbol, right? Tilde symbol, your numerical attribute name, your pipeline symbol, followed by your attribute name, which should be a factor variable. If your variable is already factor, no issues. If it is not factor, you can convert it to a factor variable using this function. And your data set name. Data is equal to your data set name. And all the remaining things, whatever we have given are beautification attributes. Your heading, your X label, your Y label, your color, and your bin size. You're okay with that? Could you give your responses, please? So here we are embossing our factor variable to visualize the data. So when we try to give this, right? Zoom it. See, now we are trying to get our graph like this. Right? Now, this is learning rate versus number of days. Who have taken more leave? Slow learner or advanced learner? Who have taken more leave? Advanced learner or slow learner? No, this is the graph which combines days with learner. So with this graph, who has taken more leave? Is it an advanced learner or slow learner? Yes, now we have to give me the inputs. Who has taken more number of days? Is that slow learner or advanced learner? Slow learner? Is that slow learner? Now, as a whole, slow learner have taken more number of days leave. So 60 days leave more than 40, say 50, 60 and 80 is taken by the slow learners. But when we look into it, the number of days leave taken by the slow learner and the advanced learner, see for this red curve up to 10, slow learner have taken more leave, advanced learner have taken leave, which is only 10% less than slow learner. But for this green point, advanced learner have taken more leave than the slow learner. And here also advanced learner has taken more leave. And even this up to 40 advanced learner has taken more leave. And again for this advanced learner has taken more leave. Is it or not? Who has taken more leave, and now we have to conclude. So there is no much difference between leave taken by advanced learner and slow learner. Up to 50 days of leave, and above 50 days of leave, more number of leave is being taken by slow learners. Now, again, no, we should not end up with slight difference. Again, our insight should be like this. There exists no difference of number of days leave taken up to 40 days between advanced learner and slow learner. Again, puts my problem to be very complex. Why advanced learner and slow learner, if they are not taken, they fall in the same category. Now the next question comes in is, okay, if it is not the learning rate makes the student absent, then what makes the student absent coming school? That is the biggest question. Is that or not, ma'am? Is a very biggest question that has been put in? So let us assume that this is the data that has been given by government to find out why children are not being sent to school in rural population. Now, I could not say that advanced learners are not absent and slow learners are absent. Almost proportionately, both of them take leaves. 40 days of leave, it is same. And again, the average leave taken by my advanced learner and slow learner, there is no difference at all. Is that there? Is that there? Could you give your responses? Again, when I plot my median plot and my main plot of advanced and slow learner, I can find out that. I think we will not find out any difference. See, now you are able to get a view that we are walking towards each and every data points inside the data. No, now the objective it is, it's not to get the inferences. The objective it is to find out how do we make our data points, walkthrough of all the data points. Walk through of the data points. You leave all your insights. Now we are trying to have a data exploration, 360-degree data exploration. Are we able to walk into all different pitch of data points and come out with a different insight and assumptions? Or do you feel that we are trying to do that with a simple histogram? That is what is my question. Could you give your answers? Could you give your answers? No, ma'am. Okay. No. See, I have done only for LRN. Now it is the data analyst part to do it for all possible combinations to walk through all the data points. So as a data analyst, we should not rely on only on the summary measures and come to it and find it out. Again, we are not correlating. We are just doing a comparison. So when a product sales is being given to me for a market, I could not say that this product is 10% more in this area. I have to give a very clear picture about which area, why, what is the percentage, what is the meager difference, or it is same. That it is what it is actually needed. This point of understanding is very important for the organization to frame up with the model. So we have to pinpoint and write all the possible things that is being explored out of the data. This is where your descriptive data analytics parts comes in with the domain knowledge that has to be added. So we do not just draw a histogram and say that this is larger and this is smaller. No, only histogram is the best, madam, to be done. Histogram, it gives you a very clear picture about your descriptive nature of your data. And similarly, when you do it for your learners, we have done. Similarly, when you do it for, right, your age. Similarly, when you do it for your age, this is my data, right? So F0 be my primary level, F1 be the next level, F2 be the next level, and F3 be the next level. Who has taken more leave? Again, this puts me into a question. So here I have got a clue. See, under category of F1, more number of students have taken leave. But when I go along, the number of students taken leave, say up to 30 days, it is almost the same for all the age categories, F1, F2, and F3. It is not F2 alone. It's not F2 alone. Almost my bars, it doesn't sound something. Even F3, I have more students taking leave in a higher grade. It's not F2. Now again, I have to subset my data age with F2, compare it with gender, compare it with learning rate, and compare it with other things. Then I have to come to a conclusion. So all of it, you're trying to get what I'm trying to say. As a whole, we are just trying to make some clues here and there out of the data set. And when we'll be getting the right thing, it is only when I subset my data based on the clues, whatever we have got, we can walk through to the next level and get a clear picture to understand what is available in the data set. Right? So learners, what the myth we had is low learners. We have come to a conclusion that even advanced learners are the same. Now you have to split your advanced learners and try to do in analytics separately. And here we have a thing that is F2 has taken more leave because the graph, almost the balls or something similar. I feel that this F3 has taken more leave compared to others being in a higher grade. Then I have to find out which grade. It's a male or female, which group, all these things. And again, here it is my average. This is similar to my first histogram, what we have got. Is that? So this is where you have to do a walkthrough and find out what is it. You are clear with that? So now I'll leave you this. I'll leave you this assignment as such, right? So now what you can try to do with this, you can try to form a histogram and compare with all possible things. Now learning rate we have done with what to say? We have done with age also. Then we have one thing, we have a gender. So gender here, it is a variable name is sex. So we are doing with that also. So we tend to have that female have taken more leave. See who has taken more leave now? Is female. Who has taken more leave? Is female or male? Who has taken more leave? Could you give your responses, please? Is that male or female? No, this is my male and this is my female. See, this, the first part is my male and the second part is my female. Who has taken more leave? Is male or female? These two things are the same. This is 15% less. And when I come here, this is less, this is more. And when it sounds to be same. Male. As a whole, when you try to write, you are trying it to be male, not female. So always in an analytics part, your front face should not be taken into account. You should go back behind your front face and try to pull out all the hidden facts from toward. That is, we call it as getting deep insights, finding out what has happened at all the points of time. That has to be done in your descriptive analytics part. So you have to come out with all possible stories, not as a whole, so which requires subsetting of your data and then doing a walkthrough. So you're clear with up to this, whatever we have discussed today with a histogram command. So we're done with the histogram command today. You clear with that? So how to do it with? So you need a factor variable. You have to come out with a story. You have to understand your data, do a structure based on your summary. You have to make your clues, make your assumptions, compare your assumptions, then subset your data finally into small chunks, then make a beautiful story and explore what has been available in the data set. This is what has to be done with histogram alone. Then we'll be moving to box plot, then we'll be moving to scatter plot, and then again when you're trying to do this, you have to think something about statistics and think about your models, because to do a modeling part, we have to know the statistical part also. So it's not just trying to write it is above average or below average or less than or greater than. It is trying to give you a domain specific insight. We call this as an insight. We'll never call this as an inference. Inference is statistical justification, what you give. Insight is what you give with respect to your domain concept to the authorities to come out with a decision. You clear with that? What is descriptive analytics is that? So descriptive analytics inference is not writing above average, below average, greater than, less than. It is saying and talking something about data points so that the management of the authorities will get a clear picture what is it out. So I'm walking through all possible points by subsetting your data. Again, see with the data points, when I have it in numbers, so how many of them are absent? Above 30, above 40 also can be excluded. Right? So the assignment part, what it is, I'll just play you the assignment part today. So there I want all of you to form your groupings, right? And you can take any data set that has been available in mass package. Any data set, you can take it from mass package and do an histogram analysis. Whatever we have done with respect to the class, do an histogram analysis. Take any data set from mass package. There are n number of data sets available. So you have a data set called ships. You have a data set called, I just explore, put the data sets that is in your Google Classroom. Form a group and try to split it and do it, or try to do it as individually as a whole as of now for tomorrow's class. And then I'll give you a group project where you can collaborate and do. You can form as a team and do it, come out with your assumption with subsetting, or you can do it as an individual project up to histogram and you have to post it on Monday. Is that okay? Whatever we have learned so far, I want you to do that. Could you kindly give your responses? Yes. And I think, shall I leave you for collaboration today, or you want to continue it on some other day? If you want to leave you for collaboration, then I will be leaving it as off for my side, right? So I will give you a break so that you can come collaborate yourself, occupying your chairs, share and do things, because I want you to do it as a team project, right? So we'll make a model. Now I think I'll leave it for you, so that we'll make a model how to make our students virtually collaborate when we have an environment like this. So this is where is the complexity what we face when we go in for another day. I have already given the deadline, ma'am. Yesterday's assignment already given a deadline, right? I just given one more day. Huh? I've given it as June 15th. I think you can see the deadline also. Some other day, ma'am. So now what I'll do it is 15th. It is on Monday, yes. So now I leave it for a break to collaborate. So those are willing, you can participate and collaborate and find your teams. The others, you can take up your chance later, or you can collaborate through Google Classroom. I think, again, let me wrap up the session. We have done only with histogram analysis. We have seen importing and exporting of files, and we have seen how to do with installation of packages, libraries, and how do we do with the histogram analysis with respect to gather your inferences, insights from the data set. Is that okay? So, and I would like to thank all the participants, even after a long hours of time sitting with them and listening to the class. Even I find that I am working in a regular class, right? As a whole, it is so nice to have such an interaction with the faculty. Surely I'll post a recording that is available. I'll get it to you. And I thank you, all of you, for joining with the class once again, even though it is a Saturday. Thank you. And mail also. Now I'm just take a break so that you can collaborate. The code is already available in the Google Classroom, Ravi sir. You can find it out. You can find it out. Right? So I'm just giving a take a break. So you can collaborate even if possible. I will also be joining. Now I'm giving a take a break. Same energy level, ma'am. Thank you. Shall I?